So there is a lot of career opportunities in the field of consultancy for an environmental studies student. So a lot of research and development opportunities are provided in this area of environmental studies, wherein it includes studying different types of pollution and also their causes and effects. For green marketing, skilled manpower is required in order to promote eco-friendly products in market. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to today's session on Environmental Studies of second semester BCom. I am Dr. Divya, Environmental Studies faculty, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. We shall study with the Unit 1, that is Introduction to Environmental Studies. So in today's session, let us study about the scope of environmental studies and its importance. So to begin with, let's start with studying the scope of environmental studies. So scope means where and all environmental studies is applicable. What career opportunities it can provide in different places we shall look into. So the scope of environmental studies is very vast and wide, and it deals with many areas like management of natural resources, conservation of ecosystem and biodiversity. It helps in prevention as well as control of pollution such as the air, water and the noise pollution, and it also plays a very important role in solving complex environmental issues such as issues related to the changes in the climate, issues related to the depletion of the ozone layer, issues related to crisis in energy, and issues related to desertification, which is because of lack of rainfall or drought condition, and issues related to urbanization, that is, if too much of buildings come up, how it can impact the environmental conditions, and also issues related to population explosion, etc. So there are many more yet to be studied under environmental studies. So scope in terms of career. When talking about environmental studies, the scope in terms of career opportunities is fairly vast since the last 2 decades. So everywhere you go, be it an engineering subject, be it a chemistry student, be it a physics, be it any student, they need to know about environment, just not for studying purpose, but also to inculcate in himself or herself the habit of protecting the environment, at least so that the future generations will not suffer. Not just future generations, even the present generation, we should not suffer because of the environmental damages that we are causing. So there are major career options related to this particular subject, that is environmental studies. They are career in industries. We have environmental studies related career in consultancy and in research and development, in the field of academics or education, in green marketing, in green media, in green advocacy, in some non-governmental organizations, that is NGOs, in government jobs can also be got if we take up environmental studies, and also jobs in international agencies. So talking about each of these, how or what is the scope of environmental studies in various fields that are there today. So in talking about industries, so industries need to show compliance against a number of environmental norms. As I told you, a person sets up an industry, he just can't assign laborers who will work for the productivity in the industry, but he'll also need to have a person or a graduate or somebody who has learned something about environment, at least a semester or 2 about environmental studies, at least a semester or 2 in environmental studies, wherein he will have some knowledge regarding the environmental studies, so that he can give ideas before the construction of an industry takes place, or after the construction of industry, what needs to be done should be understood. So a good knowledge about pollution is needed and the control measures for pollution is needed in this particular industry's level, and therefore the industries prefer to hire one or two experts in the field of environmental studies. Say for example, when we say industries are the ones which dispose a lot of waste. So disposing a lot of waste, those people dealing with the industries, they will not have an idea exactly how the waste need to be disposed. So that is a time when an environmental science student can be hired so that he will give them proper ideas as to how the toxicity level of the waste can be reduced and how it can be disposed in a good manner without causing problems to the environment. Or be it with the chimneys. So almost all the factories, they have chimneys releasing large amount of toxic smokes. And do you know that those chimneys need to be of certain height according to the government standards or the environmental standards. So to take care of all this, or in these chimneys, they can use electrostatic precipitators which will filter the harmful gases that are there in the smoke and then release it into the atmosphere. So all these the industrial people will not know. How a lawyer is hired for a particular industries. Similarly, a person related to environmental studies also has the opportunity to get a job in such industries so that the industries can adopt clean technologies in order to control pollution, in order to dispose the waste and also to carry out environmental. Auditing is not just for money related. Auditing is also related to environment. What do you mean by audit? Audit is done to check whether everything is going well. You would have, before you set up an industry, you would have given a record stating that or a document stating that this is how my industry is going to be set up. This is what I'm going to do to the workers. This is how I'm going to dispose the waste and all that. You just give it in the form of a document, and when a person comes for auditing about it to check whether you have been true to whatever you have said in the document and they don't find whatever you have said and you're doing everything illegal, then the person or the industrialist will be put in a problem. So that is the time when environmental studies comes to help. So therefore, those who have taken environmental studies will have a great scope in industries career. So this is about the role of, that is the scope of environmental studies in industries. Next, talking about consultancy. So there is a lot of career opportunities in the field of consultancy for an environmental studies student. So environmental consultancies, here you give, so there are various consultancy agencies. Consultancy agencies regarding properties, regarding land, regarding purchasing, regarding whatnot, regarding taking loans, because all the people will not have idea about everything. So say for example, you need to take a loan, you will not know idea how, what is the interest rate, how you need to take a loan, what are the formalities you need to follow to take a loan, all that. So there will be some consultancy agencies which help you out. Just like that, for environmental related issues also, there are some consultancy agencies. So if you are a environmental studies student, then you can go in for this consultancy related career. So environment consultancies are hired by governments, and they are also hired by industries, and they are also hired by non-governmental organizations in order to carry out different types of laboratory based analysis or field based studies. So industries usually, they are not set up on fertile lands. So to study whether that soil is fertile or not, then you need an environmental studies student. Even various government organizations, say for example, from government organizations, people come to check the pH level of the soil, the fertility of the soil in an agricultural field where everything is done for free. So who do you think visits the field in order to check these soil samples? It is nothing but the environmental studies person who has been hired there. And not just that, to check the pollution level of the water, the air and all that, various pollution control boards and all that are there, wherein a lot of career opportunities are there for environmental studies student. So these field-based studies are often required in environment impact assessment and other compliances processes. So before setting up a house or before setting up an industry, whatever it is, studying the soil, studying the nature of that particular area is very, very important, and that can be done only by a environmental studies person. So therefore, in the field of environmental consultancy also a lot of scope is there for environmental studies. Next, in the area of research and development. So a lot of research and development opportunities are provided in this area of environmental studies, wherein it includes studying different types of pollution and also their causes and effects. So how do you think people came to know about compressed nitrogen gas? Sorry, compressed natural gas. How did they come to know? Did it just come out from somewhere? No, there was a lot of research and development done by few students which later on, or researchers which later on gave into paved way for the use of the CNGs in vehicles, or even the use of electrostatic precipitators in the chimneys. So that for all of those, it might be a person from an engineering background who would have done that. But that person, if he has to find out an electrostatic precipitator, then he should have a knowledge in environmental studies also. So that is why environmental science is one of the field of study in an engineering subject as well. So that is how different research and developmental programs are carried out, wherein all the environmental issues can be solved. So we have air purifiers nowadays that are available. So those air purifiers are meant to clean the air free and make it free of pollution. How was it developed? Again, through research and development. And we have this catalytic converters which are used in vehicles to reduce pollution. So who found out that? All is because of the research and development done by environmental studies related students or research scholars. So that is how in the field of research and development there is a lot of scope, and also a lot of stipend or scholarships are provided in order to do this research work. And it also includes development of clean and efficient technologies for the future. Clean and efficient technologies. Earlier, the refrigerators that we had, it had chlorofluorocarbon in it. But based on research and development, they found out that chlorofluorocarbons are the ones that are causing the depletion of the ozone layer. And not just that, even the perfumes that we use, various aerosol sprays that we use, the olden days tube light bulbs that we used to use, all that would emit chlorofluorocarbons. But now we have refrigerators which do not function using chlorofluorocarbons, or they emit very little chlorofluorocarbons when compared to the earlier ones. And we have tube lights and all that have been replaced by the LED lights and bulbs, therefore reducing the chlorofluorocarbons. So likewise, improvements are done. So how is all this possible? Again, through research and development itself. So for future, in order to protect the environment, or we have this petrol or diesel, they are non-renewable resources, right? Because once it gets over, it cannot be renewed back. Though it can be renewed, it will take millions of years to renew it back. So therefore, they have been put under the non-renewable resources. Now, in future, because of our greed, because of our wastage that what we are doing, how can the future generation get petrol and diesel? So that is when they found an alternative, that is compressed natural gas is an alternative. And one more is there is a plant called as Jatropha which can be used as an alternative, wherein a fuel is extracted from that plant. That fuel is actually used to run vehicles. So how far it has been successful, it's not followed nowadays too much, but research is still going on in that particular field. So that is how various research and development opportunities are available in the field of environmental science. And scientists, researchers and analysts are some of the common career profiles that you can follow under environmental science. Therefore, environmental science has a lot of scope towards research and development. So next, talking in the field of academics. So environmental science, academics. For example, I myself am standing here teaching you environmental studies. I am a biology graduate, but I am teaching you environmental studies because in biology we have learnt about environmental studies a lot. We know about it. So I have got an opportunity to teach you. Likewise, there are a lot of career options in the field of education because environmental studies has become one such mandatory subject right from your primary classes in every aspects of your education. Even now, you're a commerce student, you might be a BBA student, you might be a BCom student, and you might think, where am I related to environmental studies? But you're a part of environment, right? That has been put as a subject to you because you need to know the basic knowledge so that some good habits towards environment can be inculcated. So that is how different fields or career opportunities in the form of teachers, professors, assistant professors and whatnot in the field of education, that is every level of education, environmental studies is very important. Therefore, there is a lot of scope for environmental studies in the field of academics. Next, for green marketing. So, for green marketing, skilled manpower is required in order to promote eco-friendly products in market. There are a lot of eco-friendly products that are available in market, and for this, person who is having is only an environmental studies student, can he go in for green marketing? No. Of course, he'll have knowledge about environment related things, everything knowledge he'll have, but he or she will not have knowledge about finances, right? Or about marketing. So, that can only be done through a commerce background student or a student who has learnt about finances, accounting, about marketing and all that. So, that is when both have been merged, wherein environmental studies is merging with these finance related subjects or marketing related subjects, right? So, such skilled manpower is quite required to promote eco-friendly products in market. So, there are a lot of eco-friendly products that are available in market. Say for example, we have now plastic bags that are said to be degradable. We have now bulbs that are known to save power. We have electronic items that are known to save power. So, who thinks that will give the certificate that this particular electronic item is capable of saving so much of electricity, therefore being friendly towards the environment or towards the non-renewable resources? Who will give this particular certificate? Who will give the tag for that particular product? It is a environmental studies student, along a person who knows about or is having a small certificate about environmental studies along with a finance or a marketing or a commerce background. So that is how for green marketing, environmental studies is of great scope. And environmental quality certifications like ISO 14,000 are also being incorporated in marketing strategy, and this creates additional career opportunities. So, you have some ISO markings and all which you need to give, stating that this particular product is a green product, means it is a product that doesn't pose a threat or is not hazardous to the environment. You can market it. Or sometimes what happens, say for example, we have a lot of organic products that are available today, right? But do you know that to make an organic product, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money? Because you might think that, okay, 2 years I've not added any pesticide to that particular plant, so that is organic. No, it is not so. Organic means right from the beginning, the soil should be free of any of the chemicals. Not even from nearby field, their chemicals should not leach or erode and come into this particular field wherein you're doing organic farming. So, for everything to see whether any chemical content is there, whether any fertilizer, insecticide or pesticide content is there, all that will be checked by an environmental studies related person, and he will be the one who will certify your product, and he will be the one who will help in green marketing of that particular product. So, career opportunities in green marketing is also very vast, and therefore it is one of the scope of environmental studies. Next, talking about green advocacy. So, green advocacy, when I say advocacy, advocacy means something related to a lawyer, right? So, here we can call them environmental lawyers. So, environmental lawyers are emerging as major players in ensuring proper implementation of environmental norms, laws and programs. Say for example, again here, a industry can appoint an environmental lawyer. Say for example, somebody is blaming a particular industry, stating that that particular industry is releasing a lot of toxic gases to the environment. So, that industry will have an environmental lawyer who will come for the support. He will be the one who will be protecting the industry under law, stating that no, this is the norms that they are following, and the gases that are liberating, it is of not that much hazardous to the environment. He can prove it. So for that, to protect the industries or to protect any companies against the environmental or for the environmental norms, laws and programs, this green advocacy is one of the important carriers. Or nowadays we know that that is whatever buildings are there, especially the offices and all that are there, they should have a green space. So or they should have created the office wherein enough amounts of sunlight should enter, and therefore no much wastage of electricity and all should occur there. So all that, so somebody, who knows, somebody might put a RTI or somebody might put a case stating that that particular company is not following the norms of the environment. That is when the environmental lawyers will come to help for that particular company. So therefore environmental lawyers have a great opportunity in terms of career related. So public interest litigation empowers a common man to fight against any anti-environment activity. So like this. So what happens? Anybody, you might feel, okay, they are cutting trees unnecessarily. So you might feel that a road construction is going on, but the road construction can be done even without cutting the tree. But in spite of that, they are cutting the trees unnecessarily. You can put a case against it. At that time, the green advocacy comes to help. So green lawyers or green advocacy is a great career opportunity here. And also the scope of environmental studies in NGOs, that is non-government organizations. So these days a lot of NGOs have been sprung up who are related to environmental programs, and they are implementing a lot of environmental related programs with the help of funds that they get from national and international agencies. You might see people, even in Mysuru also, everywhere there are some clubs and all related to, or there are some NGOs wherein group of people joins and creates an NGO in order to solve the environmental issues. So you might see people holding placards and boards and all that and shouting slogans related to the environment. Don't cut trees, save trees and all that. Who do you think these people are? They are nothing but peoples of different organizations of the NGOs, that is non-government organization, wherein road construction is taking place. They'll just go there and protest against the environment. Or not just that, even a crop variety is released that is genetically modified. There also they'll go and protest, saying that it might be hazardous to the environment. They'll protest against various pollutions of the taking place or happening in the environment. So that is how being a part of the NGO is also one of the career opportunity in environmental studies. So there are Greenpeace, then we have CI, the World Wildlife Fund, then CAC, CEE, TERI, Tarun Bharat Sangh, and Vatavaran. These are some of the environmental NGOs that are working today. So there even for WWF is one of the oldest and one of the vast environmental related platforms wherein even we can contribute a lot towards it. So they mainly focus on saving the wildlife and the biodiversity and the ecosystem. So these are various job opportunities under the NGOs. Next, a lot of government jobs can also be got under environmental studies, wherein a number of conventional jobs are available in the government sectors or government bodies such as environmental ministry, then in pollution control boards, and also in national parks, zoological parks, in biosphere reserves. Everywhere there are government job opportunities that are available through environmental studies. Next, jobs in international agencies. So various international agencies such as UNEP, IUCN, then TSBF and World Bank, they require qualified human resources to implement environment related projects. So human resources is something related to a commerce subject. So there also, if you have knowledge about and the human resources also, you'll be studying about environmental related. A topic will be there related to the environment. So those who have human resources along with the environmental studies, they can get jobs in international agencies as well. So next let's look into what is the importance of environmental studies. Why should we take up environmental studies? Is it really necessary? So environmental studies provides efficient use of resources in a balanced manner. Not all of us will know everything, right? We need somebody to educate us about something if we need to gain knowledge and act according to it. So you need to protect the environment. You just can't go do something on your own. You need to have at least a bit of knowledge about it. And more than wasting something and then regretting on it, it is better to minimize the use of that particular resource so that you can keep it for the future generation. So how you can minimize and how you can control various pollutions, all that, if you have to have an idea, then environmental studies is one of the best fields. So it provides an efficient way on how very well you can use the resources in a balanced manner. Therefore, these resources, the usage of the resources will not have a negative impact on the environment. I told you, water. In the previous session we had discussed, right? Water, only 1% fresh water is available. Now, every time you use water, maybe that percentage, 1% will keep repeating in your mind, therefore preventing you from wasting of water. So that thought all will not get, because you came to know about it through environmental studies, you might plan to conserve water. So that is how to make use of resources in an efficient manner, in a suitable manner. Environmental studies is very, very important. And conservation through environmental studies provides way to conserve the environment and the biodiversity, and also to maintain sustainability in the environment. So maintain sustainability, we shall study about this in the coming session, wherein you have a topic about sustainability. So conservation, you learn about various conservation strategies under environmental studies, wherein you learn to conserve the environment, you learn to conserve the biodiversity. Always, instead of knowing to conserve the biodiversity, that question should come, why should we conserve the biodiversity? What might happen if we don't conserve the biodiversity? So that what might happen, that particular answer for that question will actually help you to understand why biodiversity or why environment is very, very important in each and every organism's life. And the professionals with a degree in environmental related subjects, they are much aware, or they have great knowledge of the ecosystem, which leads to creating a harmonious interaction between the people and the environment. So if you study about environmental science, you'll have a love towards the environment. You'll feel like doing something to the environment which safeguards it. And also you'll have a great knowledge related to how you need to safeguard or how you need to maintain a harmonious interaction. Because one species gets disturbed, say for example bees are the pollinators, they are the ones which helps in pollination and therefore helps in the formation of seeds and flowering plants. Now imagine, because of our greediness and because of our negligence or because of the things that we do to the environment, the bees completely become extinct or vanish from this planet, then imagine how many trees and flower species will be lost from this planet, right? So all that thinking capability and knowledge you will get only if you learn about environmental studies. So that is why in every subject, environmental studies has been made a mandatory paper. So next, environmental studies provides higher priority to environmental issues both at the global as well as at the local level. And it also helps in creating an interrelationship between the ecosystem and the ecology. So it gives a idea about what are the environmental issues that are going on, how we can curb these environmental issues. All that ideas the environmental studies will provide. So that is why it is important to learn about environmental studies. And through environmental studies, we are able to find out what are the problems the wildlife are facing, that is the animals are facing, and what we can do in order to solve the problem. You might have noticed whenever you're traveling to a natural biosphere or a national park and all that, or you're traveling through a forest route, there will be some people who are really, really stupid, I must say, wherein they'll stop and start feeding the animal without even thinking those food are not meant for the animals, because their digestive system is not meant to use or eat such food. And also they'll not have the knowledge, right, that if you're feeding an animal in the highway, some vehicle which is speeding might hit that animal and kill it. So that knowledge, basic knowledge, from where will you get? You need to be educated for that. You need to learn about environmental studies. So such small things or small knowledge you will get through environmental studies. So various problems related to the wildlife, how you can solve the problems through using research and development, all that you can study through environmental studies. Like one of the best example is captive breeding. Earlier there was no captive breeding and all that, but nowadays there is captive breeding, wherein any animal is which is at the verge of extinction can be protected by bringing them to a center and properly taking care of them and doing breeding experiments so that they can give rise to new offsprings of animals. So that is how, through research and development. To know about the research and development in environmental science, environmental studies is very important. And through environmental study, we can try to achieve the sustainable developmental goal. So sustainable development means how much less you can use a natural resource so that in the future you can preserve it for your coming generation, so that your future generation will not suffer. So that we learn under sustainable development, which is the next topic that we'll study in the next session. And this sustainable developmental goal, it mainly focuses on the sustainable use of resources through a common goal. And the environmental studies also provides a proper planning with a focus on the execution of action in a proper manner that should not disturb the environment and the ecology. So here also, how you can maintain a balance. I'll tell you an example. There is a plant which is called as Lantana camera. That plant actually, it produces beautiful brightly colored flowers, and that is why it was brought from some country and it was introduced in India. But that plant eventually, what happened, it started to grow like a weed and it started to disturb the forest areas, preventing the animals from moving properly in the forest area, and also that plant was somewhat toxic to the animals. So that is when we need to think, when we bring a plant from other country, is it suited for our country? Is it going to be hazardous to the animals or not? All that knowledge you will get only through environmental study. So these are the different reasons why environmental studies are of great importance. So this was about this particular session wherein we studied about the scope and importance of environmental studies. So in the next coming session, let us study about the concept of sustainability and sustainable development. So we shall meet again in the coming session with these two topics. Thank you.